Hello there and welcome to another 9/11 related video. This is sort of a follow-up to the Lost 9/11 media video. This time it's going to go in a little bit more depth to the lolsuperman video in particular, because this video has been very fascinating to me. Or this Lost video supposedly has been very fascinating to me. And one of the things that a lot of people have been pointing out is that this video could be mistaken for something else. A lot of people believe that this is a part of a Mandela Effect, where people are remembering something completely different and imagining it as something completely different, something else, I should say. And so I kind of want to go through very quickly some of the possible suspects of what the lolsuperman video could actually be. I'm going to go through the three main ones I think could be the possible Mandela effects that people have had revolving around lolsuperman. My criteria for this is basically what has been remembered from the lolsuperman video. So, in other words, people going up to the plaza, people observing dead bodies in the plaza, a jumper landing, the red mist, and that's about it, really. I'm going to go through several other pieces as well, which could be, but not highly possible, pieces of 9/11 trivia or footage or anything relating to it that might have had a hand in creating the lolsuperman mythos. Obviously, I personally think that lolsuperman could potentially exist, and the reason why is because the FBI have said themselves that lolsuperman, or a video regarding plaza footage, does exist and is being held for investigation purposes. And not only that, but the German director Werner Herzog, when talking about Grizzly, he actually mentioned 9/11 footage of a jumper landing in front of the camera and saying that that footage should never be released publicly. So I do believe that lolsuperman or something equivalent does exist. However, in this video, I'm going to go through several different things or videos, evidence, I should say, which could be what lolsuperman actually is, i.e. the videos that people have mistaken for lolsuperman. There's three in particular that I think are most likely the case, whereas the other ones are maybe, but I'm still going to talk about them just in case. So without further ado, here are what I consider the suspects to the lolsuperman video. The first of the main suspects I think it could be, if it is mistaken to be another video, is of course the Guy Rosbrook footage. The Guy Rosbrook footage is perhaps the clearest view we have of jumpers where they landed on the plaza, as well as depicting a jumper landing or hitting the stage. The footage is incredibly gory and is publicly available for anyone to see. You can see it on YouTube if you look it up. It features a lot in Jumper 9/11 compilation videos, especially the one shot of the dead bodies from jumpers. It's basically red people, I guess you could say, body parts as well, split across. It is a very gory scene at the plaza, and of course Guy Rosbrook was in a hotel that overlooked the plaza right by the World Trade Center. In the footage as well, we do have a jumper that hits and lands on the stage. The only problem with this being the lolsuperman video is that, according to the description of lolsuperman, the jumpers were up close to the camera, and not only that, but they burst into red mist upon landing, as in the blood spurting from their body. And in the Guy Rosbrook footage, the one jumper that is depicted as landing doesn't burst into red mist. Rather, his body falls apart upon hitting the stage. If you were to look very closely, zoom in and slow down the footage and upscale it as well, you'll see the body parts actually roll off the top of the stage upon hitting it, and the rest of the body just sort of flops down near the actual stage part itself. There's no red mist during this entire bit, and to be fair, Guy is sort of shaking, and if you listen to the audio, he is quite terrified and he is shocked and disturbed by the sight. Even when he zooms in very closely at the jumper bodies on the plaza, he is shaking and there's not really a clear view, but at one frame you do see a sort of clearer view of the body parts and the bodies. It's a very grisly video, and obviously it is available to watch on YouTube. It is your choice to look at it, and of course I'm using some screenshots as well as slowing down the footage of the jumper that hits the stage just to show as evidence. It is possible that people remember this and believe that this was LOL Superman, especially because it takes place at the plaza and you see a jumper hit. But there is no red mist. And to add to that, there's no jumper that hits a vehicle, which is also cited as a part of LOL Superman, as well as the fact that this isn't technically right up close and someone walking across the plaza. The next very likely video that LOL Superman could actually be is the video that's been nicknamed Lamppost Guy. Lamppost Guy is actually a firefighter video, I believe, of one of the firefighters who has a camera on him. He is told, look, and he turns the camera and you see a jumper hit a lamppost or a railing. It's not really determined what the jumper hits. It's nicknamed Lamppost Guy because it's believed he hit a lamppost. And you see a burst of red mist as the jumper lands and smacks onto the metal railing or the lamppost, whatever it was that he hit. This is perhaps the clearest view of a jumper hitting and landing. However, even then, it's not necessarily up close. Whilst it does show a jumper hitting and does show the red mist as according to the LOL Superman video, it isn't on the plaza either. It is right by the World Trade Center, but it is not at the plaza. But it is somewhat close, but not very close, up close, if you know what I mean. It's highly possible that this could be the video that has been mistaken for LOL Superman, especially because it's a very short clip. It's something that would be shared around quite effortlessly by gore sites, perhaps, especially because you do see a person quite literally burst into red mist upon landing. It's a very short video, and whilst you don't see any bodies nearby, you do see some of the fire trucks, and of course in some of the witnesses to LOL Superman, they claim that a jumper hit a fire truck or was near the fire truck during the footage. And to be fair, there are some fire trucks, but there is no jumper that lands directly at the fire trucks. Instead, they land on a railing or a lamppost, hence the term Lamppost Guy. Who knows? Obviously, this is a very short clip, and it isn't the minute-long clip that supposedly was LOL Superman. I should have said in the Guy Rosbrook footage that was, I think, an hour long or 30 minutes long, the whole footage altogether, and even then that isn't really LOL Superman because that was meant to be a minute long. This is, of course, much shorter, but it is a high possibility that this could have been the LOL Superman that people were thinking of. It is a very clear view of a jumper landing, and you do see him burst into red mist. You just don't see any other bodies, and it's not necessarily up close, but it is close enough, I guess you could argue. The third very potential footage that could be linked with LOL Superman is, of course, the Jack Taliercio World Trade Center footage, which was released in 2010. This was actual plaza footage. Jack had managed to sneak past firefighters and the police barricades that were set up to prevent people from going anywhere near the World Trade Center, especially after the second plane had hit. However, Jack had managed to actually get up to the plaza and see the absolute devastation that was on the plaza. You see all sorts of bits and debris. Now, there has been rumours that if you look closer, you can actually see a jumper land near where Jack was. However, this has never been viably proven. Nonetheless, it is very interesting footage and very vital footage, all things considered. Jack had managed to actually get nearby and actually be on the plaza. This also links into LOL Superman having a person go up to the plaza. In fact, in the LOL Superman video, supposedly 2 people went up, and Jack is clearly with another person. He is talking to another person throughout the whole of his captures. To add to this, he does also capture a jumper very up close. However, this jumper isn't actually a jumper, rather he was a person who was trying to climb down the World Trade Center, or at least trying to get some air. However, a bit of a wind burst or something blew him out of the World Trade Center, and he ends up falling very near the cameraman, very near Jack. However, you don't see the splat, you don't see the impact, you just see the man fall from the tower. This does sort of link with LOL Superman in the sense that you do see a person up close. However, you don't see any impact. In fact, there's no gore in this video. You don't even see the bodies from the Guy Rosbrook footage, because by this point, the trade center has been littered with bits of debris, and really it would be very difficult by this point to see any bodies. However, that's not to say that the bodies were impossible to see. You probably could see them if you were to walk around that area. You see, it's possible that Jack could have been the cameraman, and the footage itself is somewhat choppy. How do I say? It's sort of like several different clips that have been mashed together into one compilation. But then again, a lot of 9/11 footage is like that. You have a lot of people who have captured 9/11, even Guy Rosbrook, which isn't necessarily a long, clean cut of the whole event. Rather, it's several different cuts taken at several different times. Some of them even miss the second plane impact, and some don't. It's very awkward to talk about some of the footage, and Jack's footage isn't necessarily complete, if that makes sense. There are bits that are missing, or at least bits which aren't shown at all. That said, he does tick some of the checkboxes from the LOL Superman description. It is on the plaza. You see a jumper up close, although it's not really a jumper, it's a person that's falling. And that's about it, really. You don't see any gore, you don't really see anything else. You just see him on the plaza, you see a person fall, and there's two people there on the plaza at the same time that managed to sneak past law enforcement just to get up close footage. The next potential LOL Superman theory, or footage, I should say, that could be a culprit. However, this is one of the more debatable ones. Like I said, really the first three are the ones which could 100% be what people have confused LOL Superman with, is pictures. Simple pictures. There's a lot of pictures of 9/11 jumpers. There's a lot of very gory images of body parts and body pieces littering the streets below. There's of course some pictures of the plaza. However, it's often from afar and not actually in HD if you were to scrolling very close. But you can just about make a few dead bodies. There are, of course, some bodies that have been found up close, including one which shows a fire engine where a jumper has landed basically right by the fire engine. You can see the body right there. It's a very grisly sight. Some jumper pictures are more grisly than others. You see essentially what was a human being just turned into red mush on the ground. Now, something to be aware of is that some of the body parts that are seen on the ground aren't actually jumpers. Rather, it turns out some of these body parts were people on the planes, people in the towers. As soon as the plane hit the tower, some people quite literally went everywhere. Now, that's not to say that some of the bodies weren't jumpers, but a large portion of the jumpers landed more or less right next to the World Trade Center. There were a few that landed quite far off. A man's wife, for example, her body was found quite a distance away from the World Trade Center, having jumped quite a considerable distance, it seems. But a lot of the bodies were nearby. And so a lot of these pictures are from basically the streets around, not necessarily right by the World Trade Center. The ones that show jumpers, and this is quite a clear difference, are the ones that show them more or less, not necessarily intact, but more full, if that makes sense. The ones which are chunks are more likely people that were killed in the initial explosion or in the impact from the planes. It could literally be passengers or people in the towers. The jumpers themselves are more intact, I guess you could say. Not necessarily completely intact, but intact enough that you can tell that was once a human being. The fifth and final potential LOL Superman Mandela Effect could actually be from the witness accounts. So several people witnessed jumpers up close, and several people have described very similar parts to the jumpers that they remember seeing. I am mostly going to be talking about the Jules Nadal firefighter interviews and from the documentary 9/11, which was released in 2002. This footage or these interviews, a lot of the firefighters describe seeing jumpers. They describe seeing them up close. There's one firefighter who actually says that he saw 2 jumpers land directly in front of him. This, of course, lines up with the Lol Superman footage where supposedly 2 jumpers landed directly in front of the cameraman. It's possible people probably heard what this firefighter said and mistaken it or remembered it as an actual bit of footage that they've seen. Similarly, one firefighter also describes being on top of the Marriott Hotel, which was World Trade Center 3, and seeing a few jumper bodies there, which, to be fair, a few jumpers did land on top of the building. There were a few jumpers that landed on other buildings nearby as well. There's one which is quite infamous for showing 2 legs dangling from the side. It's possible that these firefighters who are talking about these jumpers most likely could have influenced the idea behind Lol Superman. To add to this, there's also quite a few witness accounts of people who escaped the towers who witnessed seeing dead bodies of the jumpers. And once again, going back to Jules Nadal, inside of World Trade Center 1, he heard the loud clapping sound of jumpers smacking down. He even caught a few jumpers hitting the skylight nearby, which was right outside the World Trade Center, the carport, I should say. And there's even a picture of these jumpers that hit that place. Simply put, it's highly possible that all this witness accounts, or all these people that have talked about jumpers, or even the Jules Nadal footage, most likely could have influenced the fact that Lol Superman, or may have influenced the fact, or may have influenced Lol Superman's existence. It's possible people are hearing these stories or watching these documentaries, which these interviews are taking place, and have simply made up the Lol Superman imagery in their head. Like, they've made it up in the sense that they've imagined themselves as a firefighter walking out of the World Trade Center after this second World Trade Center had just collapsed, and seeing 2 bodies slam directly in front of him. They're, imagining the one firefighter that was on top of the World Trade Center 3, the Marriott Hotel, and seeing jumpers land basically on the rooftop. They could literally just be taking these stories and imagining what it could have been like, and as a result, years later, they most likely confused it with what is Lol Superman. So those are just a few examples of what I consider the suspects to the Lol Superman case. These are the suspects of what it could have been mistaken for, obviously. In my opinion, obviously, I've said earlier in the video that I do believe that it does exist. The FBI confirm there is plaza footage. Now, obviously, they could be talking about Jack's video, but I believe that there could have been more people. There are accounts of people breaking past the security barrier and going towards the World Trade Center, whether they were photographers, journalists, or just everyday people with cameras. We obviously have got that news footage that shows 2 people walking towards the plaza. Not only that, but FBI agents themselves were nearby the World Trade Center. There were some that were inside the 3rd World Trade Center, the Marriott Hotel, having dinner as the planes hit. You can even hear the audio as they hear the plane impact. And so it's possible that they could have been wandering about recording and taking pictures. And we obviously do know that they did take pictures, because some of the very gory pictures of jumpers and human body parts were actually taken by FBI agents themselves. Not only that, but Werner Herzog himself also said that he has seen footage of jumpers landing near the cameraman. And so I do think that it does exist. However, if it doesn't exist, it's possible that all this that I've just talked about, whether it was Guy Rosbrook's footage, whether it's Jack's footage, whether it's the Lamppost guy video, it's possible that people have just merged all those videos and thought that that was the actual lol Superman, or maybe they listened to the witness accounts and just imagined it, and years later just believed that it was an actual video they saw, when reality was it was just them imagining something and believing in what they've imagined. Obviously, the possibilities are endless. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoyed my insight into if lol Superman is just a Mandela effect. Obviously, there are some blog posts and even Reddit posts which have gone into so much more detail, but hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.